Hi, my name is Amelia Bauerly, and today I'm going to be talking through a collaboration exercise that we did on the Monitor team. So, as a way of starting this presentation, I wanted to pose a question. In a remote, asynchronous company, is there ever a time when teams need to collaborate synchronously? And this is probably a question that most of us have asked ourselves at some point in our careers at GitLab. And I found myself asking this question late last year. I realized that as of December 2021, the Monitor team has been working on incident management for 3 years, which is startling to me that it's already been that long. But we first started talking about incident management as a team way back in December of 2018. And that was back in the days when we could still travel and could still meet up in one place. And we actually did do that. The Monitor team had just formed at that point, and we all gathered together to build the MVC for error tracking. And while we were together, we also spent a morning doing a design facilitation session on incident management. Side note, this is a funny picture for me to see again. And it's a little bit bittersweet because of all the people pictured in this photo. There's only 3 of us left in Monitor. So I do want to take a moment to acknowledge all the lovely people who helped us start this journey and who are now continuing their journeys elsewhere. You are all missed. At any rate, during this initial facilitated design session, we gathered as a team to clarify what incident management is for us and what it's not, at least for our first steps in this direction. And we decided that incident management, for our incident management MVC, we wanted to include a way to capture what happens during an incident, and that it should enable collaboration between team members, and that it should establish a workflow and process for dealing with incidents in GitLab. We also spent some time building empathy for people who will be using the product. We broke into small groups and spent some time thinking about each of the personas that our product would serve. We dove into what they would think and feel and do as they went about triaging and managing incidents. So having tried to get in the headspace of people who would be using the product and having outlined what we thought incident management would or should be for us, we then spent some time brainstorming the kinds of features that the people who would be using the product would need in order to achieve the goals we had outlined. And we asked as a group, what would our targeted persona groups need to document what happens during an incident to effectively collaborate with their team members and to streamline their incident workflow in GitLab. After brainstorming the features from the small group, and within small groups, we came up with a list of what seemed the most important features for incident management. And then we voted as a team on what was most important to build. And it's still amazing to me that in just a few hours, we were able to dive into a new feature category that most of us had never worked on before. And we were able to learn more about our workspace by better defining it. We were able to build empathy with the people who would be using the product. And we were able to align on what the most important objectives would be if we wanted to build out incident management within GitLab. And I can't speak for everyone, but I left this session feeling like the path forward was in some ways clear for us. We all knew what we had to do. And because we were all a part in defining that vision, we had automatically generated a feeling of buy-in for the work ahead of us. And for me, that was really invaluable. And now, fast forward 2-3 years later, where are we at? We have built up many of the features we outlined on that original list, all except for one, really. That's not to say we've built them out fully, and there's certainly more we can do to address the needs that we originally identified, but we built out the bones of a complete incident management workflow within GitLab. So this seems like something worth celebrating. We laid out a plan, and in spite of lots of changes and so many things happening in the world, pandemic, etc., we actually did a big thing together as a team. We also put what we built out into the world, and people started to use it. This is an old graph, but it shows the adoption of incident issue types right after we released them. And that was very exciting to actually put something that we had all worked on out in the world and to start getting feedback. Along with all of those good things that we achieved, we also had a lot of changes as a team. And I did want to acknowledge that too. Our team doubled in size and then was halved. And many of the people who started working on incident management with us moved on to other teams or to other opportunities elsewhere. And a handful of really lovely people have joined the team in the interim and have really owned and built what incident management has become. And as we approach this anniversary of sorts of 3 years since we started this adventure, I really wanted to take some time to reflect as a team. What have we built? And what are we proud of? What do we still need to do? And what are the challenges we face? Where do we go from here? So knowing that we were at this point of reflection, I wanted to ask how we can step back as a team to reflect on all of this. Gone are the days when we can meet in real life, unfortunately. But as nice as meeting in real life is, we do have other tools available to us. And we decided to try one of those tools out as a team. So in early December, we gathered mostly synchronously to do a lightning decision jam. What is a lightning decision jam? An LDJ is a quick way for teams to come together to collaboratively identify problems and challenges and then to find a solution for them. This can be done synchronously or asynchronously. And special thanks to Justin for creating a mural template for both options. I've added a bunch of links to resources on this slide that you can use if you choose to create one for your team or if you want more information. So how does it work? Teams spend 1 hour completing exercises that help them answer the following questions. First, what is moving us forward? What have we done well? Second, what are the challenges that are holding us back? And third, finally, how might we address these challenges? The end result of this whole exercise is a concrete, actionable solution to what the team thinks is the biggest challenge facing them and how they might address it as they move forward. So what did we do? We gathered together for an hour in early December to do the LDJ session. All but 2 of our team members joined synchronously, but I met with the 2 who were not able to join synchronously so they could participate separately. We spent some time outlining all the good things that we'd achieved. It really felt nice to do that since I don't think we spend enough time reflecting on what we've accomplished before just diving into the next thing. But then we next looked at the challenges we face as we try to grow our user numbers for incident management. We voted on the most important challenges as a team, and then we ideated on solutions for those challenges. And then finally, we voted on what the most interesting solutions were and organized those solutions into an effort impact matrix. And how did it go? So in the end, as mentioned, we had a bunch of solutions to the problem we were trying to investigate, which was how to increase our user numbers for Monitor. And these solutions were organized by how much effort they would take to implement versus how much impact they would have if we were able to build them out. But that wasn't really my only goal here. My goal was really to give a space to reflect and reconnect and reorient ourselves as we move forward into this next phase of building out incident management. So did we achieve that goal? I put together a plus delta mural so people could leave feedback. My hope was that this would give people space to be honest about what they felt worked, what could be improved if we ever did this again. It felt like some of the team orienting and reflecting did happen if we're judging based on the sticky notes on the mural. So that's great. But we did have a real time crunch at the end. So I would say that fitting this comfortably into an hour was a challenge for us. And I think that's reflected in the feedback as well. We just didn't have time to do all the things it would have been really nice to do. So is this worth doing? Yes, I would say that it is worth doing with our teams. Quick list of pros and cons for the LDJ. Pros, It's a really quick way to reflect and orient a team around a problem you're currently facing. And it can be done sync or async, depending upon what your team looks like and what they need. And we do have a ready-made framework that can be easily modified for your use case. You can set up a session like this with not a whole lot of effort. The cons. I would say that the restricted time means not much space to dig into the details. And for some teams, this could be more of a problem than for others. But it was a problem, I would say, for our team. I would also say that this exercise is collaborative, but only to a point, because a lot of the brainstorming is really happening on an individual level. And while that may lend itself actually better to an async format, it also means that there's not actually as much live collaboration as there are in some other exercises. And I would say that it's not quite the same as a multi-person live get-together. And I do hope that we can actually do that at some point soon. So bringing us back to this question that we started with, in a remote asynchronous company, is there ever a time when teams need to collaborate synchronously? I would say yes. I definitely think that taking the time to regularly gather together to remind ourselves and each other of what we've achieved and where we want to go, that's really important work. It allows us to appreciate the breadth of what we've achieved in a way that just looking at numbers or metrics like issues closed or merged MRs doesn't really allow us to do. So I think it's really useful to build in these periods of reflection within teams periodically. And maybe the fact that the LDJ felt too short for our team was a sign that we need to be doing things like this more often, and that we shouldn't be waiting 3 years to do exercises like this as a team. Which really leaves me with this question for all of you. How do other teams create space for reflection and problem solving? I'm guessing other designers are trying out different things within their groups, and I would love to know how those exercises are going. And since this is a recorded presentation, I created an issue to discuss the topic further. I'd be really interested to hear if other teams are trying things like this out. Also, I'm curious if you all feel like you have the appropriate resources to conduct these kinds of exercises, or even if you think it's relevant to do so. I'd love to hear your thoughts, mostly so we can create space for this kind of reflection as we go about our work. Thank you so much for listening to this recording, and let me know if you have any thoughts or questions. I would love to chat more about this topic with everyone on the team. Thank you very much.